This is a video response to Adam McIntyre's video titled, The Rise and Fall of defnoodles. Now, I want to start by saying I hold no animosity toward Adam. I actually like him, and I'm genuinely grateful that he brought this conversation back into the spotlight because it's one that needs to be had, especially given the cultural climate that we're currently in. That said, some of what he brought up recycles old, tired narratives I've already addressed publicly, clearly, and repeatedly for many years. These are stories that have been corrected and put to rest, but they keep getting revived. So no, this isn't about drama. It's about truth. It's about accountability, and it's about the deeper cultural rot that allows entire communities to protect predators under the guise of solidarity. That's the part no one wants to actually talk about, but we're going to do it today. Let's start with the James Charles thread. At the time, I compiled and reported over a dozen allegations, many of which were serious, and in several cases later acknowledged by James himself. 2 of those allegations turned out to be false, and as soon as I realized that, I deleted the posts and issued a public correction. That should have been the end of it, but instead of focusing on James's pattern of misconduct, critics fixated on those 2 deleted tweets as if that somehow discredits everything else James did. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. You see, the real issue was never my thread. The actual issue in this situation is James Charles's predatory behavior. But instead of holding him accountable, many so-called critics redirected the spotlight onto me. And we need to ask why. Why has a YouTube community spent years obsessing over 2 tweets I corrected rather than the overwhelming number of credible, evidence-backed claims against James? And let's make one thing clear. I wasn't the only one covering this story. Major outlets were also reporting on it. Reputable journalists ran investigations. Most of their articles didn't mention me, but they did mention James. So again, why the fixation on me? Why the need to rewrite the narrative into a story about my reporting instead of what James actually did? Here's the truth. This specific James Charles Predator narrative keeps ending on me because many people talking about it have no real interest in actually holding him accountable. Fixating on those tweets gives them the perfect out. It lets them appear critical of James without confronting what he actually did. They get to discredit the allegations without defending the predator. So it's clear that it's not actually about justice, it's purely about optics. It's about protecting their tribe. And let's be brutally honest for a second. The gay community, broadly speaking, refuses to hold its own accountable when it comes to predatory behavior. James Charles is just one example. There's also Bryan Singer, the openly gay director of The Usual Suspects and X-Men, who was accused of sexual misconduct involving minors for years, yet Hollywood and the LGBT media closed ranks and protected him. Ezra Miller is another example. Over and over, when the predator is one of them, the instinct is to shield, not scrutinize. These are the same communities that preach accountability to the rest of the world, but go silent when it's someone inside their tent. That's not justice. That's tribalism. And it's never been more clear that James Charles is a case study in selective accountability. He was publicly accused by multiple underage boys, some of whom provided screenshots, timelines, and direct evidence. One accuser admitted to lying, one posted as a joke, but the majority did not. Their claims were serious, detailed, and disturbing, and yet the LGBT community and the YouTube community as well downplayed it. Influencers treated the whole situation like petty drama and ultimately normalized the silence. So the message is clear. If the predator is popular, rich, and gay, the rules just don't apply. And that's why they needed me to be the villain. By discrediting the messenger, they protect the image of their entire community. It's easier to scream fake news at the person sounding the alarm than to confront the actual predator in their midst. Making me the problem allow them to ignore the truth about James Charles and the deeper pattern of abuse that keeps getting swept under the rug. And the most disturbing part, the strategy is working. James is still out there, still successful, still partnered with multiple brands, and still behaving predatorily. He's had 2 new scandals in the last few weeks alone, and yet the silence remains. So let's be clear, the discourse around me was never about journalistic standards. It was always about preserving a facade, one that paints gay identity as flawless, infallible, and above reproach, even if it means enabling a predator in plain sight. But let's break that illusion right now. The left often claims that discussing abuse within the gay community is an attack on it. But the truth is far more sobering and far more tragic. Studies consistently show that gay men report significantly higher rates of childhood sexual abuse than heterosexual men. A 2001 peer-reviewed study in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that 46% of gay men reported experiencing homosexual molestation in childhood, compared to just 7% of heterosexual men. That's a staggering gap. And it's not just a statistic, it's a crisis. Older gay men abusing younger gay boys generation after generation in silence. Trauma, denial, and protectionism form a shield that keeps the cycle alive. And all of that just to maintain a clean public image for the community. Now, this issue goes even deeper than that, because a 2007 study in the American Journal of Public Health found that more than 1 in 7 gay and bisexual men in a non-clinical setting had experienced childhood sexual abuse. Research from Oregon State University reported that roughly 20% of gay and bisexual men had a history of such abuse, and 80% described it as severe, often involving violence or coercion. These aren't just fringe numbers. This is a pattern that the gay community refuses to confront. So again, I'm glad this conversation is happening, but let's focus on what actually matters. Stop twisting my old posts into a distraction. If you actually care about justice, then care about the victims. Don't use me as a scapegoat to protect James Charles from the accountability he still hasn't faced. And once again, I want to thank Adam for reopening this conversation, because it gives us a rare opportunity to go deeper into the part of the story most people would rather ignore. This was never about old tweets. It's about how truth gets twisted, weaponized, and distorted, not to protect survivors, but to shield predators. It's about communities that chant believe victims until the predator is powerful, profitable, or gay. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a strong, thoughtful, and blessed day. God bless you. Peace.